Hello and welcome back to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg. I am here today to do a sort of part one of my May book haul because I intended to film this as part of my book haul. Basically, I did a curated book box and I'll explain more about that in a second, but I filmed this intending it to be an unboxing that I would then edit into my regular book haul. But then when I finished and looked at the amount of time that I had been talking as I went through the curated book box that I got, I thought it would probably make more sense to do its own separate video about this. So consider this part one of my May book haul, and we'll get to the rest of the items that I purchased in the month of May and brought into my library a little bit soon. So what I'm going to do now is cut to what I had filmed just before I did this, where I thought I was going to be inserting this footage into a book haul because I explain a lot about what this curated book box is in the store that I ordered from, and then I'll come back and wrap things up afterward. Okay, so I am always curious about curated book boxes or curated book subscription services, those things where a bookstore will look at your likes and preferences and pick books for you, but I haven't ever done one in the past. I've always been curious, kind of wanted to do it, but haven't really. Jen, the librarian, talks about a book subscription service she has where it's sort of the same thing. This bookstore where she lives in the UK will pick a book based on your likes and interests and send it to you. And she's in the UK, I'm in the US, so wouldn't quite work. And I know of a couple of others, but I've always held off. Well, recently, I discovered Good Neighbor Bookstore in New York. I believe they're outside Buffalo. They're definitely upstate New York. And I found them on TikTok. That's a whole other story. I'll talk about it maybe in a Friday Reads video, but somebody told me if I was interested in books, I had to be on TikTok because there's book content. I'll talk about it another time. I did eventually find the book content, and one of the things I found was this store, and the owner has a mission statement that he really wants to foster empathy through reading. And I think reading is something in and of itself that really does foster empathy and sort of helps promote diversity. But I really love that mission statement. So I watched a lot of TikTok videos, followed the account, and eventually he mentioned that they do curated book boxes at 3 different price tiers, $50, $100, and $150. This is not an ad, by the way. So I decided to treat myself, because my birthday is going to be next month, and sort of just like an advance happy birthday to me, I would try a curated book box and support a store with what I think is a really cool mission statement. And I'll put a link to their store website down below and where you can get one of these curated book boxes if you're interested. I just think it's a really cool store. I'd say definitely get to know them. You can follow them on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Even TikTok, again, is where I found them in the first place. So I ordered one at the $50 level. I got it right here, and I'm going to open it. I haven't opened it yet. I don't know what's in it. I'm really excited to find out. We're going to do it live. So here's what I said, because when you order a book box, you can talk about your likes, your dislikes, send a link to your Goodreads or Storygraph profile, and if you have any special requests, you can include them. So I asked for a book that Bob, the owner, would say, a fiction book specifically, that he would say embodies what the store's mission about fostering empathy is about. And because this is something I'm always curious about with book people in general, I asked him to send me a book that he wishes more people knew about. And then depending on however much was left after that, anything else would be a bonus. So let's see what he came up with for those briefs. Hopefully I'm gonna be able to open this without getting up and getting some scissors. Looks like it's gonna open. Okay. Ooh, and it comes in a tote. That's exciting. I did also order a t-shirt. I'll put a link to that down below as well. I think they have a bonfire campaign. So I ordered a t-shirt with their logo because I think the logo is really cool. And you know me, I love bookstore t-shirts. So, but it will not be printing or shipping until I think June. So that will be coming. I don't have it right now. Let's see what's in this adorable tote bag. Yellow seems to be a sort of signature color for them. All right, here we go. Hi, neighbor. That's really cool. I think he opens his TikToks with that. So let's always start with the card. It's such a good feeling to be with you. Oh, I like that. And let's see. Oh, I think he explains what the books are in there. So let me start with the books and then we'll go to the card. Okay, the first one is Life Went On Anyway, Stories by Oleg Sentsov. This is something I am completely unfamiliar with, so that's exciting. Recipient of the Penn Barbie Freedom to Write Award and the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought, translated by Uilleam Blacker. Published by Deep Vellum. Ooh, the stories in Ukrainian filmmaker and screenwriter and author Oleg Sentsov debut collection are as much acts of dissent as they are acts of intensely personal creative expression. These autobiographical stories are told with a mixture of nostalgia and philosophical insight, written in a simple yet profound style, looking back on a life's path that led Sentsov to become an internationally renowned dissident artist. Just as this book was going to press in September of 2019, Sentsov was released from his unjust imprisonment after 5 years in a Russian prison on charges that stemmed from his opposition to Russia's invasion and occupation of eastern Ukraine. Very timely. Including where he lived and grew up in the Crimea. He had been sentenced to 20 years in prison in August 2015 on spurious charges after being kidnapped in his house and put through a grossly unfair trial by a Russian military court, marred by allegations of torture. Many of the stories included here were read during international campaigns by PEN International, the European Film Academy, and Amnesty International, among others, to support the case for Sentsov's freedom across the world. This is an extremely important book for Oleg and all who believe in the freedom of expression for artists around the world, and even while imprisoned in a prison camp above the Arctic Circle in Siberia, he actively participated in the preparation of its publication. Sentsov's final words at his trial, "Why bring up a new generation of slaves?" have become a rallying cry for his cause. He spent 145 days on hunger strike in 2018 to urge the Russian authorities to release all Ukrainian prisoners unfairly imprisoned in Russia, an act of profound courage that contributed to the European Parliament's awarding him the prestigious Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought. When was this published? Let's find out. Oh, and there is a bookmark with the store logo. And this is what will be on the t-shirt when it comes in. I think I ordered it in indigo blue. So I will put links to the information about the store down below. But if you can see this and you want to pause for a second, there is their contact information as well. So they're in Lakewood, New York. And this is published in 2019. So that seems really exciting. Can't wait to see what he says about this. Let's find out what the next one is. Okay, there are 4 books in here total. Okay, the next one is The Bear by Andrew Krivak, author of the National Book Award finalist The Sojourn. Krivak is an extraordinarily elegant writer with deep awareness of the natural world. Beautiful cover. I don't know if you can see, it's a little shiny, but those constellations and 2 people reaching for each other. Let's see. This is from Bellevue Literary Press. There's a quote from Adam Johnson, who is the Pulitzer Prize winning author of Orphan Master's Son, so I'm feeling like I'm in good hands right here. And in an Edenic future, a girl and her father live close to the land in the shadow of a lone mountain. They possess a few remnants of civilization, some books, a pane of glass, a set of flint and steel, a comb. The father teaches the girl how to fish and hunt, the secrets of the seasons and the stars. He is preparing her for an adulthood in harmony with nature, for they are the last of humankind. But when the girl finds herself alone in an unknown landscape, it is a bear that will lead her back home through a vast wilderness that offers the greatest lessons of all if she can only learn to listen. A cautionary tale of human fragility, of love and loss, The Bear is a stunning tribute to the beauty of nature's dominion. By the way, I usually do the first sentence of books in my book hauls, and I completely forgot because I want to get through these really quickly. But let's do the first sentence from the first story of Life Went On Anyway. The first story is called Dog. So the opening of Dog is, when I was a child, I wanted to have a dog. A German Shepherd, definitely a German Shepherd. I saw them a lot in movies, and there were a couple in our village. I wanted my own, to take it for walks, to train it, to walk along the street and have everybody look at me. I wanted it to obey me. I wanted us to love each other. That is the opening of Life Went On Anyway, stories. Now let's do the opening of Bear. So far, we're 2 for 2. I'm really interested in both of these. All right, so The Bear opens. The last 2 were a girl and her father who lived along the old eastern range on the side of a mountain they called the Mountain That Stands Alone. The man had come there with a woman when they were young and built a house out of timber, stones pulled from the ground, and mortar they made with a mix of mud and sand. It was set halfway up the mountain's slope and looked out onto a lake ringed with birch trees and blueberry bushes that ripened in the summer with great bunches of fruit the girl and her father would pick as the two floated along the shore in a canoe. That's the opening of The Bear. Really interested in that as well. Let's see what's next. We have two more. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. Okay. How Free Speech Saved Democracy, the Untold History of How the First Amendment Became an Essential Tool for Securing Liberty and Social Justice by Christopher M. Finan, Executive Director of the National Coalition Against Censorship. Nominated for the May Indie Next list. This is an advanced reader's copy, actually. That's interesting. Plot twist. Let's see. How Free Speech Saved Democracy is a revealing reminder that First Amendment rights have often been curtailed in efforts to block progress, and that current measures to reduce hurtful language and to end hate speech could backfire on those who promote them. In the 19th century, abolitionists, advocates for women's rights, and leaders of the labor movement had to fight for free speech. In the 20th century, the civil rights and anti-war movements expanded free speech, creating a shield for every protest movement we see today. Finan demonstrates how the most effective antidote for the growth of hate speech and violence is support for and cultivation of a free and robust marketplace of ideas. That's interesting. Sounds like a really good book. This is published by Steerforth Press. And let's see. We won't do the introduction. Let's jump to Chapter 1, The Martyr Age, Founding Principles. Matthew Lyons spat in the face of Roger Griswold during an argument on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives on January 30th, 1798. That's a very different year from what I said. Griswold belonged to the party in control of the presidency and Congress, the Federalists, and Lyon was a member of the opposition Democratic Republican Party. And that is how Free Speech Saved Democracy, the Untold History of How the First Amendment Became an Essential Tool for Securing Liberty and Social Justice begins. That sounds fascinating as well. So we're looking 3 for 3. And again, this one, it says it was published February 28th. Let's do the final book that is in here, I believe. Okay, Tiny Americans, a novel by Devin Murphy, author of the national bestseller The Boat Runner. Another one I'm unfamiliar with. It has a quote from Emily Danforth, who's the author of The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which I have read, and I have another book by Emily Danforth, Plain Bad Heroines, in my library. So already sounding like something that's in my wheelhouse. All right, let's do this. Western New York, 1978. Jamie, Lewis, and Connor Thurber watch their parents' destructive dance of loving, hating, and drinking. Terrence Thurber spends this year teaching his children about the natural world. They listen to the heartbeat of trees, track animal footprints, sleep under the star-filled sky. Despite these lessons, he does not show them how to survive without him. When these seasons of trying and failing to quit booze and be a better man are over, Terrence is gone. Alone with their artist mother, Katrine, the Thurber children are left to grapple with the anger they feel for the one parent who deserted them and a growing resentment for the one who didn't. As Katrine withdraws into her own world, Jamie throws herself into painting while her brothers smash out their rage in brutal, no-holds-barred football games with neighborhood kids. Once they can leave, Jamie for college, Lewis for the Navy, and Connor for work, they don't look back. But Terrence does. Crossing the country, sobering up, and starting over have left him with razor-sharp regret. Terrence doesn't know that Jamie, now an academic, inhabits an ever-shrinking circle of loneliness, that Lewis, a merchant marine, fears life on dry land, and that Connor struggles to connect with the son he sees teetering on an all-too-familiar edge. He only knows that he has one last try to build a bridge through the years to his family. That sounds fascinating and perfect for me. If you follow along, you know I love complicated family stories and stories about sort of generational trauma and how the things that your parents and grandparents do to you kind of reverberate into the next generation. So this sounds totally up my alley. Really interested in that. And how perfect that it's something that I had not heard of before. This is published by Harper Perennial, by the way. When was this published? Just out of curiosity. It was published 2019. So again, pretty recent. And the opening of this book is Jamie Thurber, 1978. In the fall of 1978, our father brought home a stack of books from the library on activities to do with us kids as an attempt to get himself sober. He had Taking the Kids Outside, The Dangerous and Exciting Backyard, old issues of 17 and Boys Life magazines, and Boy Scouts training manuals. I was 13 and my two little brothers, Lewis and Connor, were 10 and 9. Of course, we didn't know it at the time, but from that point on, what he read the night before would be implemented the following morning as the day's activities, and for a year, this became his new parenting style. And that is the opening of Tiny Americans by Devin Murphy. Really excited about that as well. And here is a better look at the tote, which again is in their signature yellow, and You've Got to Be Kind, which is their store motto, and I love it. All right, let's look at the card now and see what the explanation is. Okay. Thanks for the order and thanks for supporting indies. I chose The Bear as a book that captures the spirit of our store because it's about the whole of humanity and our place in the world. And that is this one, if you need a refresher. Also, Life Went On Anyways is one of many titles we brought in to help tell Ukrainian stories. That's the first one. I would love for more people to talk about Tiny Americans by Devin Murphy. I connected with this book on many levels. I've also thrown in an ARC of How Free Speech Saved Democracy. We will be chatting with Christopher Finan on June 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern for our next virtual author event. Happy reading, Bob. So that's really cool. I'll have to check out the virtual event as well. They do a lot of those. The store actually has a podcast as well. Another thing that's kind of cool about it. So again, I'll have information about Good Neighbor Bookstore in the description box down below if you'd like to check it out. And I'll have links if you need it. Again, there is their contact information if you can see it. Otherwise, again, I'll have their website down below. Maybe I'll put a link to where the information about that author event is. And I'm really looking forward to these books. So my first experience with a curated book box seems to have gone pretty well. All of these books sound like things that I am interested in and that fit my interests as a reader and that could be very good. Just even the fact that they are blurbed by people that I either have read or would like to read or are about things that are very relevant in the news today. And just to wrap things up, thanks again to Good Neighbor Bookstore. I had never done a curated book box, but this was a good experience, and it seems like he did a really good job tying in some books that fit what I'm interested in and the mission of his store and a little bit about himself and what he is interested in. I found that fascinating. I would totally do this again. And part of me is a little bit sad that I didn't opt for one of the more expensive book boxes. I did the $50 one because I wanted to try it out, but I would totally do one of the higher tiers as well at some point in the future. This was a fun birthday present or early birthday present for me. So thank you to Bob at Good Neighbor Bookstore. Again, check them out. This is not an ad. This was just me knowing about this store and wanting to try a curated book box. And I love talking about and supporting independent bookstores. So I wanted to make sure I supported them and their mission, and I thought this was a fun way of doing that. So hopefully you agreed. So watch out for part 2 of my May book haul, which will be coming soon. And as always, I really appreciate your time. I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.